Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I had this encounter the other day and thought I would just like to share it. So I'm 23 and I work at a hardware store. Now I'm African American, but with a light skin tone. We normally help customers find items they need as well as make paint. This was my first encounter with Karen. I was at the paint counter when Karen came up, and I greeted her and noticed she had a paint chip sample. It was a mid-tone color of honey gold and marigold. For those of you who don't know, marigold and honey gold are basically fraternal twins. Now we do custom colors all the time for customers, but this encounter was like playing hot potato. I asked Karen what brand she wanted since we only carried 3 popular brands of paint, and she said, "I don't know, figure it out, it's your job, isn't it?" And that's when I knew I was dealing with a Karen. So I went over to our paint computer and typed the color in to see what base we needed. But because she didn't specify a brand, I went with our generic one and asked her if she wanted a gallon or a quart because the dispenser needed to know how big the can was. She looks back at me and says, "Whichever one can cover a dick patio." I then realized she wanted an exterior stain instead of an exterior coat of paint, so I told her, "Ma'am, we don't do stains with custom colors." The computer couldn't handle the process. She then glared at me and I could tell this was about to get hot, and I was already sweating from carrying buckets of paint because she couldn't choose. "Well, figure something out because I need bath paint for this evening," she replies. I sighed and asked my manager if I could make a custom stain, which they were hesitant about at first but agreed to as long as I did it right. Now remember that for later. So I got the paint can open, got the paint in, and put it in a paint mixer to stir it up when Karen asked, "Make sure that it's perfect, I don't want to come back." I sighed and rolled my eyes, waiting for the paint to finish mixing. Then I pulled the paint can out of the mixer and opened it to show her the color, which in this case was the right color, and she said, "What is that color? That's not what I asked for." She turns to my manager who was at the counter and continues, "Can they even mix paint or are they just colorblind? I mean, are they even from Africa?" At that comment, I just turned around and took a breath before returning my posture and trying not to yell back. I gritted my teeth and replied, "Well, ma'am, if you were more clear on what you needed, we wouldn't be here." And then, out of nowhere, a smack could be heard. Oh hell nah, did she just smack me? I thought. At this point, the entire store was watching this encounter. "Ma'am, I need you to leave right now," my manager says with a stern voice. "No, not until they get my paint right. If they can't learn basic colors, then fire them," she replies, looking at me. But being good old me says, "It's fine and I can make another one," while still rubbing my cheek. This is where the hot potato comes along, as 5 minutes pass and she's still saying the color isn't right. If y'all didn't know, yellow paint is the easiest paint color to mix because not much needs to go in. So I was confused at what she was talking about because it matched the paint chip. At this point, I'm making the 6th can when one of my co-workers comes along and tells me to go take a break. I happily said thank you and went to the break room for my break. I swear this encounter was ridiculous. No painting is ever perfect. I found out after my break that the customer left without the paint, and the police arrived. They asked if I would like to press charges, and I said yes. So, as part of my actual job, my company sends me to different clinics to audit their invoices to ensure insurance companies aren't getting scammed for unnecessary or unperformed patient procedures, and it happens more than you know. Normally, when I am at a clinic, they'll stick me in an unused office or a cubicle so I'm out of sight and do not interfere with their normal operations. However, yesterday during a clinic visit, they didn't have anywhere to put me except the front desk with a receptionist. This wasn't a problem for me since it does happen on occasion, and I'm just there to get the job done and head out. So I'm sitting there at the front office desk looking over the clinic's documents when the receptionist gets called back to assist with a patient. After a few minutes, I hear someone cough slightly to the right of me and look up. I'll call her Karen because, well, she had the haircut and the attitude. Karen, in a rude voice, "I've been standing here for the past couple of minutes, and you've yet to acknowledge me. You should be ashamed of yourself. Is this how this clinic is run?" "I'm sorry, ma'am, the receptionist just stepped out for a moment. She'll be back soon. I can't help you as I don't work here." She looks me up and down like she's judging how I'm dressed. I should mention that I'm dressed in standard business attire, blazer, shirt, tie, and black slacks, with my company logo and name tag hanging from a lanyard. How stupid do you think I am? You're sitting at the front desk of a clinic dressed like that, and you don't work here? I should file a complaint against you as your boss. Listen, ma'am, I've already told you I don't work here. Take it or leave it. But I work for X company and I hold up my badge. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to get back to my work, and I ignore her. Karen, now infuriated, "How dare you? Do you know who I am? My husband works with the owner of this clinic, and he'll be hearing about your poor customer service skills." Still looking at documents, I say, "Good for him." I repeat, "I don't work here." Wait for the receptionist. Karen tries to change tactics and fake smiles at me, saying, "Look, I'm sure you're busy, so I won't take much of your time. All I need to know is my daughter-in-law's next OB appointment. Her name is X. It shouldn't take you too long to find her on your calendar. I just need to know what time it is so I can be here to meet her." Now looking back at her, I say, "Are you deaf? I've already told you I don't work here. And even if I did, you're asking me to violate Hippa laws. Do you know how serious that is? You need to ask her directly if she's actually willing to have you with her. Though I doubt it." "I don't know what you're talking about. That brat should have told me when she was scheduling her first ultrasound. That's my grandchild in there, and I need to be here to see him. Now tell me when her appointment is. Otherwise, I'll have you fired." "You need help, lady. You need to leave now before I have someone call security." "You're threatening me?" The doctor and receptionist hear the loud commotion and come out to the front desk. The doctor asks, "What is going on here?" I say, "This woman doesn't understand that I don't work for you, and she's trying to find out about her in-laws appointment." Karen, now panicking, "Your receptionist here has been useless and won't give me the information I've asked for. He needs to be fired." The receptionist to Karen, "He doesn't work here. Doctor, I'll take care of this." And she intercoms the security office. "Hi, we need a guard to come to office 123 to escort someone out. She's disturbing one of our vendors." She says thank you once they confirm someone will be here shortly. Once Karen realizes she's about to be escorted out, she says, "I am not leaving. I have a right to know how my grandson is doing. I have a right." She starts shouting profanities at us for a couple of minutes when a burly security guard arrives and tells her to leave, otherwise he will call the police on her for trespassing. She refuses, so he grabs her by the arm and drags her screaming out of the office. I was told she kept making a fuss, so they called the police and they took her into their car outside of the building. That was the last I saw of her. But the receptionist called the daughter-in-law to inform her of what just happened. After the call, the receptionist laughs and tells me that the in-laws didn't want the woman anywhere near her or her baby. It seems she and her husband have no contact, which explains part of the craziness. One night I had a knock on my door from the funeral home owners down the street. They told me that they had just bought the property between us, and we were going to demolish the house to build a parking lot. They said that they wanted to build a nice vinyl fence between us and that they would pay for everything. All they needed from me was to sign an agreement saying that it was okay for them to build the fence. This agreement was 3 pages long. I told them that I would be happy to take the agreement and read and sign it tomorrow because it was already 9 p.m. They told me that they couldn't leave the document with me and that I had to sign it right now. I responded that I don't ever sign legal documents without reading them completely and that I don't have the time right now to read them, then suggested that they mail me a copy. After this, they got very pushy and told me that I had to sign it, and I had to do it right now. At this point, I told them to get off my property and slammed my door shut. I did some research and city code required them to build a very specific type of fence because we had two different zonings of property next to each other. A bit later, they built a foam core concrete fence that was 8 feet tall. It looked good, and to an untrained eye, it looked to meet the requirements of the city ordinance. At this time, I also received a letter from their lawyer about the old wooden fence that they also left standing on their side of the property line, and that if I tore it down, repaired it, or did anything else to it, they would take legal action against me. Cue the petty revenge. I found a city ordinance that outlaws a fence within a fence. It basically says that there is only one fence allowed per property line. I took that to the city planning commission and they forced my neighbor to remove the wooden fence. I refused to allow him or his workers onto my property. After that was completed, I went back to the planning commission to demand that the correct fence be built. City ordinance stipulated an 8-foot-tall solid masonry fence and explicitly forbade the use of foam core fencing in this situation. The commission sided with me and made him tear up his brand new fence. After that, he put up a temporary chain link freestanding fence between our properties. The wind kept blowing it down, so I asked him to take care of it. He told me to figure it out myself, so I welded his printed fence pieces together. They were no longer portable, but they stopped blowing down. They were also taking a long time to get the permanent fence in, so I ordered a Porat-style neon green Speedo. You should Google it to really understand, and I then wore that during the nights in the summer while I sat at my fire pit. The guests at the funeral could clearly see all of me lit up in the twilight. I like to think that this helped motivate them to put in an opaque fence. When he finally put in the correct fence, his workers trampled about 30 feet of my rose bushes and killed him. So I had the planning commission order him to pay me for damages for the roses. The workers also broke some of my sprinklers, and I was able to force him to repair those too. To top this all off, he stained his side of the new fence and left mine with only stain splatters and stain drips. Since I was patting 1,000, I went back to the city ordinance and found one that prohibited this exact situation. I went back to the commission. After more fighting, he had to pay to stain my side of the fence too. It took 5.5 years of petty revenge, but now I have a beautiful, tall fence to keep my yard quiet and safe. It's added a lot of value to my property too. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Funeral Home, sign that. One of my best friends, Alex, was a staffer in a state legislative office. His boss was head of a key Senate budget committee, so there were always people coming to solicit her support for a particular project, grant, or whatever. Someone representing an arts program that was looking for a $250K grant is waiting. I'll call her Lobby Ann. She comes up to the reception desk and asks for a bin. The senator keeps giveaway pins with her name on them in stock, reasonably nice ones. So Alex reaches over to the can where the pins are. Lobby Ann says something along the lines of, "Well, then the senator will know that I showed up without a pin." So what? She looks across the desk. Alex has some work spread out with his own favorite pin. An expensive one with lapis inlay and engraved with his name and term of office in a campus organization. Lobby Ann reaches over, snatches it up and drops it in her purse. Alex, who is a very polite person, is completely gobsmacked and then tells Lobby Ann that it's his personal bin and not up for grabs. Lobby Ann gives him a contemptuous look and refuses very rudely. One of the sad or funny things about this story is that she uses a slur that Alex was not sure was a reference to his heritage, Asian. Alex, confused and deeply upset, sits back down while LaBian flounces back to the waiting area. In a few minutes, the senator comes out to get LaBian. As they are walking past Alex's desk, he stands up and says in a very clear voice, "I'm going to need my bin back." LaBian stops in her tracks, as does the senator. And Alex says calmly, "I may be a slur or a slur, whatever you want to call me, but that pen is precious to me. You stole it right off this desk, and I want it back." The senator kind of gasps and says, "She stole your lapis pen? She called you a slur?" And then she turns to LaBian, who is frantically fishing around in her purse and stammering about just borrowing it, and says, "Give it back." Once the pen is back in Alex's hands, the senator says to Alex, "Come on back, I need you," and turns and walks back into her office, leaving LaBian standing there as the senator shuts the inner office down in her face. Then the senator picks up her purse, smiles a big bright smile and says, "Want Starbucks?" So she and Alex go out the side door and across the street. They could see the front door of the office from Starbucks. It apparently took LaBian about 5 minutes to realize how badly she'd screwed up, that she was not going to see the senator that day or any day, and that the project she was going to ask for money for was probably doomed as well. She'd lined up strong support in the house, so it might have made it through, though it was not the kind of project the senator favored. When she came slinking out, she almost certainly saw Alex and the senator sitting there drinking their drinks. Alex always ends the story with, "That was the best coffee I've ever had." Edit. And just a few questions that keep coming up. I have added in the fact that I should have clarified from the start that this was a state senator, not a US senator. I've worked in and around state politics all my life, and I forgot to make the distinction. I should also explain better about the pin situation, and here I have to make a few assumptions. The pins in the cup on the counter were probably campaign swag, and the senator's campaign colors, it was her logo on them. LaBian probably thought that meeting was a politician using a pin she'd obviously just taken looked bad. If that was the case, she was focused on a stupid detail that the senator almost certainly did not care about. And anyway, the pins were there to be taken. Also, I kinda tend to doubt that she carefully evaluated Alex's pin, judged it to be valuable and got covetous. Again, this is my guess. She just saw a pin that didn't look like a campaign pin, a blue pin with gold writing on it, and just grabbed it. Until she picked it up, she may well have thought it was plastic. Once she picked it up, however, it should have been obvious from its weight that it was not a cheap one. I don't have a picture of that pin itself. I don't even know if Alex still has it now.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.